We talked a lot about like 250 stuff, like being 250. And Andrew already told me about fireworks for Veterans Day, so.
Because it's a 250th, right? So you're supposed to do extra.
As far as state senators, really excited about coming down here for a fireworks and Veterans Day.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the trigger for you.
Mhm.
Thank you.
I think that's it.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't, did you still upgrade, you did, right, you just still taking away?
I acquired about work and I know it's on the agenda, but I brought popcorn.
Creative Sites was given, by the way, I think that's where we got all of our musical instruments that Marvin put in,
Oh.
he was giving away when he stopped it there.
Go see Al. He was at his
Yeah,
booth.
good, he actually ate supper with us last night.
Yeah.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, he's doing good. I think everybody knows him.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
Everybody.
He makes around, huh?
Who?
Ow.
Oh, yeah.
See anything innovative that we can implement?
Oh, yeah, a couple things.
Yeah, lots of things actually.
Yeah.
One of the things we learned is like all the playground equipment's on sale right now because they try to keep the people buying it. They try to keep their people like, working during the winter time. So everything's on sale. So consequently, possible deals for replacing the wood structure. We want to talk to some people about that. That was neat. And then we learned that the USDA, if you are declared, you can be declared a disaster area just by a drought.
Oh, wow.
And
Pertinent for this year, I feel.
And they said they have 120 declared droughts in the state of Nebraska right now. And it also can be if it's community or county adjacent, which even goes into Colorado. So Phillips County or something like that, or Sedgwick County, if they were declared, then we could actually piggyback get funds and help with water infrastructure and all kinds of things. And apparently declaring any personal taxes, which I have not looked this up, right? Do you live in disaster area or disaster area?
There's a couple of towns do visual lots. We look at everything and. I know. They follow that one, no problem, I mean, some of that, they're looking to do something, yeah.
Yep.
So they're working.
Yep. Yeah, we're getting. They're having good.
Until
Yeah, they're doing that along a couple towns. Yeah, I'm happy about that. Jesse, who did our code book?
Rick
Sorry.
Nowie's, out of England. There's like 2 or 3 other ones that do it.
I just cannot remember, I didn't remember either of those places.
And I think the other ones are not, the one's definitely national,
I did remember Ella did our poll though, I did remember.
Oh, she saw me, I know.
Please stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Recording in progress.
Roll call, Jesse.
Andrea Brueggemann.
Here.
Sam Sims.
Here.
Lisa Schmidt.
Here.
Tierney Peterson.
Here.
Kimberly Bishop.
Here.
Call this meeting to order at 7:01. The City of Grant abides by the Nebraska Open Meeting Act in conducting business. A copy of the Nebraska Open Meeting Act is on display in the meeting room on the south wall as required by Nebraska state statute. The mayor and council reserve the right to enter the closed session at any time during the meeting in accordance with the Nebraska Open Meeting Act, even though the session may not be indicated on the agenda. It is the intention of the mayor and council to take up items on the agenda in the order they're presented. However, we reserve the right to take up matters in a different order to accommodate our schedules. Anyone wishing to speak during public comment may be limited to 3 minutes per person, with a limit of 2 individuals speaking per topic position. Please come to the podium, clearly state your name and address for the record. This meeting is being recorded by the City of Grant. Did everyone have a chance to review the agenda?
I move to accept the October 24th proposed agenda.
Second.
How about February 24th?
Yeah.
February.
That's why I heard there's 24.
Alright. Andrea moved, Kimberly second to accept the February 24th, 2026 proposed agenda. Any discussion? Sam, how do you vote?
Yes.
Tierney?
Yes.
Kimberly?
Yes.
Andrea?
Yes.
Motion carried. Review and action of prior meeting minutes from January 27th, 2026.
I'll move to accept prior meeting minutes for January 27th, 2026, and leave the reading.
Second.
Tierney moved, Andrea second to accept the prior meeting minutes from January 27th, 2026, and waive the reading. Any discussion? Andrea, how do you vote?
Yes.
Sam?
Stay.
Tierney?
Yes.
Kimberly?
Yes.
Motion carried. Prior meeting minutes from February 10th, 2026.
Move to take action on prior meeting minutes of February 10th, 2026, and waive the reading.
Second.
Sam moved, Tierney second, that we accept the prior meeting minutes from February 10th, 2026, and waive the reading. Any discussion? Andrea, how do you vote?
I'll abstain.
Sam?
Yes.
Tierney?
Yes.
Kimberly?
Abstain.
I vote yes as well, motion carried. Communications, Derek.
We have a tree board meeting tomorrow, the 25th at 2 o'clock. And then cemetery will be on March 10th at 5:15, and then the next council meeting will be the 10th at 7.
Alright, any council members with communications?
We went to the league, with Derek and Andrea and I went, and got some really good feedback, met with a lot of people, got to meet with their senator. They're really happy with what we're doing. They're kind of a big push right now is to find things to do for the 250 for the celebration. So there were a lot of discussions on ways to integrate that. There's gonna be some challenges with the legislator as far as, property tax and funding. So we have to think of creative ways to fund, you know, the community and our things that we wanna do, including grants and maybe some investment opportunities as well. But overall, really good meeting, a lot of good information with the DED, the Small Business Administration. Let's see what else is there. There's a lot of things we can do as far as emergencies and declare things. So things that can be declared, like I mentioned, is a drought, declare something as emergency, so there's a lot of opportunities. And then, creative districts was a really big thing where you can, like Ogallala has painted things, the murals and that kind of stuff. There's some really good opportunities for us in town if we can maybe think about doing some creative things. Some people do concerts, some people do paintings, some people do, one of the things they found is that they painted intersections. They didn't have to put stop signs in as much because people naturally slow down, so.
That's a good idea.
So it's different areas, there were very different creative ways of doing that, of bringing, and it shows that it actually brings revenue into your town, so. Yeah, that was my report, and, our senator was very happy with us, I was gonna say that, you know, and she was actually very impressed with our nuisance program. She asked about that, and she was very happy with, you know,
Oh,
how,
nice.
you know, the funding and how effective it was, so.
Yep, she was definitely very inquired about that. So did a lot of other people, a lot of other members. And Scant does it too, which is in the southern corner. They've started to do it in many different communities and latched onto them and said they really like doing it, the program that way. One said that they've even, like their nuisance officer went into a different role because they said it just works so much easier to not have somebody hired from the city to do it. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for attending.
Yeah, we have lots of good stuff out of it.
Derek, did you have anything?
Biggest takeaway was just obviously the legislature's back in property taxes when they're looking at capping everything this year because they had a couple bad eggs that figured the system out already and ruined it for everybody is kind of what it sounds like. So we'll just have to wait and see legislatures over 15 days and see if they actually move forward with anything or not.
Okay. Well, good. Well, thank you again, everyone, for attending. Appreciate that. Standing committee reports. Kimberly? No. Andrew?
The tree board met last Tuesday, and they're working on the Arbor Day, getting ready to do the Arbor Day, so they'll meet again. Gonna go over some stuff that John Forney needs to go over, and then start working on getting everything going, because that'll be in a couple months.
Yeah, we'll come up quick. Thank you. Tierney?
It's library, but they're here, so we'll hear from them.
All right.
That's all I got.
All right. Sam?
No.
All right. Thank you very much. Jesse, do we have financials?
Yes. And I don't think I had anything that really stood out this month. There's had questions on it.
Please note we accept them as presented. Any public comment? All right, there'll be a no unfinished business. We'll move on to new business. And that is action and discussion and presentation of the fiscal year 2024-2025 audit. And Derek is calling in our auditor, Tracy.
Hey Tracy, this is Eric with the city there. Ready to do the audit? Put you on speaker, put you up here with council.
Okay.
Hi Tracy.
Hi. Okay, I'll probably just go over that benchmarking, that 2 pages. Okay, so on the first page, I just kind of want to point out that the valuation per capita is a little less than the recommended column, which is just an average of other municipalities of your size. So the first thing that we look at is the unrestricted net position to total net position. For the government-wide, we like to see around 35% governmental activities, 25% business type activities at 40%. And for the most part, you're within that range. The governmental activities is a little lower, but that's, due to the various funds that you have, like the street fund and different things that are restricted. And then the top 5 sources of revenue would be your franchise fees, property taxes, the state allocation, sales tax, and then grants and contributions. For the most part, you're pretty close on the average. The property taxes and sales tax are a little lower. Your state allocation's a little higher, and that kind of relates to the valuation per capita being lower than the average. And the detail of that state allocation is going to be your highway allocation and the municipal equalization, which are both slightly above the average. The expenditures for your administration, police, cemetery, library, recreation, and airport are listed. They're pretty comparable to last year and to other municipalities. The library is a little higher than average in the recreation, but I think a lot of that relates to the pool. still being new. The administration expenses are up. I think that's just, with the, with, Edward being gone and professional fees being up. There's just some additional administrative costs there this year. The outstanding government debt to valuation, we like to see that under 3%, and you're at 1.44%. The unassigned fund balance to general fund expenditures was 45.48%, which is still above the 30% that we like to see. And the reason that's down from last year is because of those administrative costs that were up this year. The next page, the months in street cash reserve, we like to see 12 months and you're at 12.5. The levy rate, the average is 39 cents for the general, and you're at 37 cents, so you're a little lower than the average. And the debt service, for the municipalities who have the debt service, it's usually around 10 cents, and you're at under 2 cents. The capital assets to the original cost, we like to see those above 35%, just to make sure you're replacing your assets timely. And both the governmental and business type are above that. The operating income to total operating revenue, we like to see around 15%. The reason these are down this year from last year mostly relates to GASB 101, where we had to accrue some sick time based on, what's more likely than not to be used versus what will be paid out at termination. So it was just some additional wage expense that necessarily wasn't cash that came out. All of the utility funds except for the waste fund did have a positive cash flow. I'd maybe keep an eye on that waste fund. It's just every year it seems that they've had a loss.
We did raise the rates, Tracy.
Okay, good. And then the debt coverage ratio for water, we like to see around 1.5, and you're at 1.65. And then the general fund cash, we like to see 6 months of operating expenses set aside, and you've got $515,000, but that doesn't include budget stabilization, which is at $132,000. So if you were to add that in, you'd be exceeding the 6 months of operating expenses. And then the business type activities, the operating is again 6 months of operating expenses, which is the $1,175,000. Replacement, we add some in there once the depreciable assets drop below 50%. And then the restricted would be for debt service. And so your cash that we recommend would be around 2.5, and so you're at 4 million in the utility funds. But any questions on the benchmarking?
So overall, it looks like a good report.
Right, yep. And like you said, you had already increased those waste rates. But yeah, I think so. And you're keeping your levy low, and your expenses are pretty in line. You just have a few departments that are kind of higher than the average, but that's just kind of what's important to the community.
Any questions from the council?
No, I don't think so.
No, I just think I always like to read the statement that's on there that I have on the front page. We noted no transaction entered into by the city during the year which there was a lack of authoritative guidance or consensus. All significant transactions have been recognized in the financial statements in the proper period.
Yes, that's very good.
And I mean, the audit went really smooth, and Jessie was very organized for the year that she had.
She's always organized.
Yes. Yeah.
you. Derek, did you have any questions? All good?
Good.
All good,
I think we need a motion to accept the audit report.
And the letters and the report.
Yeah, okay, the letters and the report. Thank you, Jessica.
I move to accept the 24-25 audit and the letters with the report.
I'll second.
Andrea moved, Kimberly second, that we accept the 2024-25 audit report and letters that were given to us. Any more questions or comments? Trinity, how do you vote?
Yes.
Kimberly?
Yes.
Sam?
Yes.
Andrew?
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you very much, Tracy, for, helping us and keeping us on the straight and narrow.
Yeah, thanks for allowing us to do the audit.
Thank you, Jesse, for all your help. That was a lot of work during a busy period. Good.
Thank you, Tracy.
Yeah, thank you.
Very good. All right. Now we'll go to the parking lot north of the city offices. Mr. Todd, would you like to join us?
I created a map, I thought maybe a drawing, I thought maybe it'd be a little bit helpful to kind of visualize it a little better. It's got the senior center on the top, it's got the forestry, of course, on the bottom, central, one side. Sorry about that.
No, you're good.
Nope, you're good.
So, what I did was I shaded the area where the sidewalks in question are. You can see along Fourth Street, the sidewalk comes out fairly wide because we're meeting the existing walk by the old bowling alley entrance and then narrowing it down as it comes across to 8 foot. And the reason it went 8 foot is because that is, the door swings out, takes about 3 feet out. So it's going to be 8 foot. And that's a shaded portion on the bottom, and then it narrows back down to 5 foot. Part of the reason is we're trying to get around those poles too. The first pole on the right, which is that red dot, kind of on the bottom there, the sidewalk's wider to get it past that. Of course, all this has to be ADA acceptable, so we have to watch the slopes as we come out of this whole thing. The other pole by the alley, we missed completely, but I don't really wanna pave that. We could pave it, but I don't really wanna rely on that as a sidewalk because it's too steep. This steepens up as it comes to the west, so to preserve the ADA, we have to keep the sidewalk a little narrower over there, and then meet the alley approach that's already there now. Then on the north side, it's basically, I figured a 6 foot walk, if you choose to do that, or any of it, and just reproduce really what's there. Again, if cars overhanging a foot or two, it gives us clearance to get by it again. Not that that's an ADA acceptable walk, because it has a drop off on the end, so anybody that pulls in here, if we designate one of these stalls ADA, will have to get them from the parking lot onto the sidewalk, and that would be using that sidewalk against the senior center to do that. We'll have to come around on the asphalt, run a lot. So that's kind of a summary. It's all, I figured asphalt to the edge of the alley. I did not figure paving the alley in the estimate I gave you. And then I sent a letter, as you're probably aware, kind of described what we would do, the order we would do it in. Talked to Sheldon, some about it, got some numbers from him. And then try to describe how we would approach the project. I anticipate there'll be a soft spot or two, and then we'll have to do something that's filled and crushed or something. And then there'll be some dirt left to take out of there. I kind of actually already graded it, but I needed to do that to have a fairly decent estimate. I knew money was kind of tight, so I tried to squeeze it down as much as I could, but I can only do what I can. Like I said, I talked to Sheldon about costs, and he kinda gave me the numbers that he used in there, that he thought it would run. So, hopefully they're a little bit high, but not too much. So, any questions, you have?
If we move that sidewalk to the curb, then would we be able to have any other parking on the other side?
No, you couldn't, it's not enough room to back up all those parking stalls that are pointing to the north, you just couldn't. It'd be really tight, and I'd be afraid if somebody parked parallel in there, which would be the natural thing, somebody back into the side of the car, you know? I mean, you can try it, but I wouldn't park there myself.
Well, yeah,
Yeah, another question was if we made a turnout onto the 4th Street and then did angles, would we be able to have more of that way?
Yeah, you would.
Okay.
I haven't actually laid that out. Yeah, I have to remember the year, I think it was 2009, something like that, it's been a long time ago. And that was, one of them was to come off the alley, there'd be angled parking each way, coming across the parking lot, and you'd exit out on the highway, or vice versa. But I don't know, if there's some concern about people, maybe deciding to drive off the parking lot that straight out of the 4th Street. So we didn't pursue that one, but yeah, you could get more if you went angle park.
Okay.
I think the state, though, when we finally looked at it, it was gonna be that the drive would be closer to the senior center, wasn't it, Tom?
Yeah, there was some concern about, the people that use the senior center being clear when, well, the other thing is possibility is sometimes people pull into the front of the senior center on the sidewalk, which really don't want to do either. So, but then there's also the safety of the people that use the senior center and pulling across the sidewalk and the pedestrian traffic.
No, I was thinking more like when you coming down across here and having a cutout right here on 4th.
Yeah.
And not ever going onto the highway.
Yeah, and again, we would have to, if we did that, Sam, we would have to get highway permission.
Even there? Okay.
Yeah, they would have something to say about, they already told us we can get onto the highway, but we didn't discuss coming off the side, but that is something that was one of the ones that was looked at some time ago.
Okay.
Was that very thing.
Street out here is very dangerous already without, we knew people pulling out and stuff, so.
well, between the post office and then when there's emergency, the parking of the EMT and firefighter.
And of course, if you did that, you also would lose a stall or two on the street, you know.
Yeah.
Right, but anyway, so 6 in the line, other people.
How full does this lot get?
Full.
Full?
Yeah, I mean, Wednesdays it's full because of Rotary or whatever's going on, but I mean, even just during the week, there's days that it's full.
That was my impression as well, so.
It gets
I feel
used
like-
quite a bit.
I feel like for lunch and stuff, and it'll help once we get the lines marked in there too, because sometimes we get, people pulling their odd ends, so they don't get quite as many maybe pulled in there, but.
Any other questions I can ask, or ask, answer?
I kind of would like to see,
Wrong way.
I'd like to see both options, to be honest with you, and then just so we can explore that to see what we would, what the difference be, and then obviously, that's been my thought.
Yeah, I can generate that, that's my thought. I actually have we have a drawing like that for our archives, I found today.
Oh, wonderful.
I didn't even remember, but frankly, it's been that long ago.
Should we table this then to, the next? Would that be too soon, or?
Well, it's up to you, I mean, I understand there's a lot of donations involved in this, and I don't know how you're funding it, so it's however you wanna do it, cost-wise or approach-wise,
Or were you good with this?
I mean, okay, so, I mean, I'm fine with it, but I was just curious if we could actually if we're gonna do this, could we maximize it by having something come off onto 4th Street?
question. I wish I could tell you for sure.
I mean, you can even put like an even mirror up there or something,
I can't remember.
on a pole.
The light poles in there already that we would then potentially have to move, because that's what we kind of discussed at that time.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, the light poles there, and then, like I said, it is so dangerous already right by the stop sign and stuff, cause it's too narrow there. And so that's why we kinda had decided
If you make that
that's, was not an
a
option.
mandatory right coming out of there,
Coming out of the south, coming out.
yeah, if you made that a mandatory right turn, you can
Well,
put
you
a,
can
you
put
can
it
put a
in there,
mirror
I
on
can,
the
I can
pole.
tell you, you can put up a sign that's a mandatory right turn, and I can pretty much guarantee it.
What people are,
30, 70. Probably less than that.
no, everybody follows every sign.
Well, it's those people from over the wall.
Yeah, you gotta watch out for them, they come down here, but.
Stinkers, but anyway. So, however you guys wanna do it, it's fine.
Well, I guess that's the question, I mean, is this the plan that everybody wants to go with? I mean, or do they want, you guys wanna look at a different option, or, and see what both options are? I mean, if everybody wants to go with this one, then I'm not gonna be the, that says no.
It's up to you.
I'm a little concerned of them coming out of the corner over there.
Yeah.
I think the only thing, if you look at the angle parking and you try to come out on Fourth Street, if somebody is parking up in this corner here, they would have to back down further and
Yeah, they don't wanna make it unsafe, I'm just trying to match.
I think you would maybe lose people from parking up there if they had to back all the way back to get out on Fourth Street.
You know, we could always cut this out later and repaint the lines.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, you can do that anytime. So.
Yeah.
And I kinda figured we'd do that in-house, the line painting, you know, in the blocks, just buying and setting. You get a 4-inch, roller line.
Yeah, and what would you recommend about this sidewalk with the senior center up top? Cause they own
I
it.
think we could make it we could make it much, I'd have to look at that, but, I would keep it, because it keeps them away from the building, for sure, that's the biggest thing, so. Probably could narrow it down to 4, that would give us a little more space too, but I think the one I looked at today had it at 5, and we still had angle parking, because we couldn't. The ideal is to do perpendicular, because that's where you get your most problems, but we can't, it's not wide enough.
Do we own the sidewalk or is the senior center on the
Senior
sidewalk?
center.
So, okay.
So if there's some thought of replacing that, which is the time to do it, if you're gonna do the parking lot, then that has to be some kind of a thing worked out, and say there's some help. And Derek's already talked about it.
And it's, Tom had put that as a separate option so that we could visit with the county
Yeah.
or.
I kind of talked to the county and I will get put on their agenda and talk to them about it. So they wanted kind of a number to see what it was gonna cost and go from there.
Remind me how much we put in our budget to do this, I can't remember what our suggested.
Part of it was the donation portion and to.
Yeah, no, but in our budget amount, I just don't remember exactly.
We put 50 in capital outlay and then 20 out of just
Yeah.
taking it, cause we didn't have to transfer it from the economic development.
Or,
Put it in
no,
that
you were transferring 20 from electric, wasn't it?
Yes, yep, transferring 20, we put 50 in capital outlay and pull it out real quick.
Yeah. We looked at it last week, but.
No, I don't know, that was last week. I can't remember. Yeah.
So yes, we had, 50 in the capital outlay of general, and then we were taking 20 out of a transfer from the electric board, plus I know Cliff has
Has
roughly
one of
around
his.
15, I think last time I talked to him, close to that number, it's somewhere around there, that you would like to.
So we have plenty to do the project.
The full 50 though, I think we were gonna try to do something else capital outlay wise for another project, but, I mean, if we have to use it, we have to use that and we'll just readjust too. So, but we knew we'd have some in the water application too.
Yeah, one of the things that we talk about, these things called creative districts, there's extra funds for you for something creative for your town. And there's a whole blank wall on that senior center, and, there's a lot of funds, and they would, I believe, we could partner with, high school or local artists, And there would likely be funds to be, because we were doing that, to help with this sidewalk.
Yeah.
So things so that the senior center could then, you know, have funds, then somebody else could match, so.
That's a good idea.
So, very good idea.
Would that be through like a grant? that we
Yeah, so they have a
apply
grant.
for and-
Yeah, they have a workbook you go through, and they have, and like, if you've been up to Ogallala recently, they have all the murals, that was what they became part of our creative district, and that was all, grant money. There is when you get awarded it, you get an additional $10,000 that year, and then they will help you do other projects, you communicate with that, what you wanna do, there's an extra $100,000 in grant money to do those kind of things, and they have several communities that are repeating this every year, and just adding new and creative things in their community, so, I mean, so look for these blank spaces, talk to your creative people in town, and look for opportunities for,
Sure.
and this is just painting, this other things, they have, you know, concerts and those kind of things, so.
You have to have a couple different boards, I think it is, and it usually takes about 2 years.
I read that,
year and a half to
1 year
get
now is what they
that.
were saying, if you start the thing, but I think there's other options, and it's, the board was, one had to be city government, one had to be just a group of creative people, and they recommended if you had like a gallery, which we do, museum, and then there was one other,
Art teacher.
our teacher could be on there, yeah, our teacher school, both our teachers could be on it, so. They said 3 now, but the city was one of them. So, but they have a whole workbook we can go through to see if this, you know, works.
Cool.
So then can we move forward to accept this, but then leave the sidewalk off and wait and see what you find out from the county? I mean, can we, if we move, I mean, do we need to exclude the sidewalk and make it within the motion if we decide that's what we wanna do? Leave that out and then we can always bring it back in if we need to?
Or do we
can just
include
go
it?
out for bids and see what, I
And
mean, that's the main thing.
Would be getting a bid, I think.
so we wanna include it so that it's in the bid and then you just come back and report whether the county's gonna pay any or not.
Yeah.
I think so, yeah,
Oh,
that
but-
keeps our options open at least, and we don't have to delay to come
Yeah.
back and meet and vote.
And you can do it as an option, right, Tom, so
Yeah,
that we
it's
can
just-
kind of pull it if we
yeah.
have to.
Right, added the relevant.
Cause then if we make the motion, you can put it out for bid so that they can schedule it. Yeah. So we can get it done.
Is this a motion to go out to bid, or is this a motion to move forward with the parking lot as outlined, or what is that?
I think it
Motion look like?
Like that this is kind of their approved plan and that they were wanting to go out to bid for that, so that Tom knows what to put on the bid sheet.
I mean, it seems like there's quite a few unknowns with potentially trying to come out onto Fourth, and I know one of the biggest points of the project was time and getting it completed, so I think I would probably lean in the direction of let's move forward with this, and we can redo striping and talk about a different driveway if we wanted to down the road, maybe just see how it functions for the community for a bit. I'll go ahead and make a motion to accept the, parking lot, plan as presented for the parking lot north of the city offices and, go out to bid. Would that work? Can I combine them? Can I combine them?
Second.
Can we move, Andrea, second that we, go with this development that is before us as a plan and go out for bid? Any more discussion?
We can complete it, we can always change it pretty easy once it's done, if we feel like it's gonna flow differently, but
Right.
this is going to work, so I think we move forward, I agree.
Looks good. Jeremy, how do you vote?
Yes.
Kimberly?
Yes.
Sam?
Yes,
Andrew?
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I would assume it would be at least a month, we have to have advertising time, so this is probably the second week of March. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, thanks.
Thank you. Have a safe drive home. term ending December 2028.
Dean has not been on the board, but he's at all the functions and helping just as much, so he might
It's
as
the
well be.
format him at this
Yes, yes, he might as well get some recognition for it.
Right.
I'll make a motion to accept the mayoral appointment of Dean Friedel to the Tree Advisory Board, term ending 12/2028.
Second.
Curly moves, Sam seconds, the mayoral appointment of Dean Friedel to the Tree Advisory Board. Any discussion? Terry, how do you vote?
Yes.
Kimberly?
Yes.
Sam?
Yes.
Andrew?
Yes.
Motion carried. Alright, action and discussion on resolution 26-0202, a resolution approving the recreation fees for the city of Grant. Expenses have, chlorine wages have all gone up, and so, our recreation fees need to go up. And I believe that, either Jesse or Derek did some research for us to see, what other communities are doing, and these are in line with that.
Yeah, one of the biggest changes is taking the stair stepping away and just, shirts cost the same for every kid.
Mhm.
And it just, prices have risen, so we've taken the stair stepping out. We did compare to other communities, even with our raised rates, we're at the same or below still what other communities are at. And if you figure in for a family of 4, they're still getting a deal with the family pass or anything like that. That's what we raise the highest, I believe, just as a correct. So,
Yeah, and it was a little bit over the average right now, but we didn't know if those
But those-
pools are gonna be increasing theirs because they're starting to get.
And,
to that
and
point.
one difference on theirs was a lot for 4 too, not 5. correct?
Yes, I think
So-
some of them were. And every community had a little bit different, way they had it laid out. Some of them charge more for the individual than what we are then. At that time kind of felt like it wasn't fair for the individual to have to pay half a family pass or something like that, basically, so.
I believe by the state statute, we have to do increases in wages every single year. And that's a lot of people who work there, they don't get a raise every year, so it always, because of that, our costs are gonna go up every year. So I will make a motion to accept resolution number 260202, approving recreational fees for the city of Grant.
Second.
Sam moved, Tierney seconds, that we approve resolution number 260202, approving recreation fees for the city of Grant. Any discussion? Tierney, how do you vote?
Yes.
Andrew?
Yes.
Sam?
Yes.
Kimberly?
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you. Action and discussion on library funding options.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
As per last. My name is Max Jones, residence at 420 Lincoln Avenue, a member of the library board. I think the big question was, do we need to get on the agenda tonight if we were going to go forward with the sales tax increase, meet the deadline of May 1st, ballot, with the uncertainty that brings in a limited time frame, we've chosen not to go that route. And with that said, then I needed to look into other ways of generating some funds for the library in the future. What I see is the best option, granted, there's a lot of legislative things that are gonna come up that I'm not aware of. I'm sure you guys might be more well-informed than me, but to increase the levy limit to take care of the increase that we always look at the budget for the upcoming year. When looking into that, I went back to the years of 2019 to 20, and all the way through 25 to 26 to look at the approved budget for the library, and then took an average of those increases, which was 4% on average every year, and extended that out to 2030 through 2031 year. That 4% increase, you know, that comes out to an average of $8,700 that we would be asking for again and again. Now, what does that mean for a levy amount? What increase does that mean without exceeding the 2% max? That, to cover that 8,700, the levy increase would be 0.0009 cents, and that's for the 4% increase. It's my understanding that if we stay below the 2% increase on a tax levy, we could stay away from going out with a pink card. And so I'm just trying to increase things without complicating it and making more costs. I don't wanna go to the pink card because I don't wanna have the cost of going through the pink card and having the extra meetings and all that. And that's the same with the sales tax increase. What's it gonna cost to, you know, one, promote it, but then also the cost of getting it on the ballot, and, you know, through that way. So that's kind of why I was looking at the levy, just to stay away from extended costs. One thing to note that I think is kind of important, when I'm wanting that tax levy to increase by, you know, very small percent of a cent, what does that mean for a homeowner? What's that gonna raise their tax? And what I figured, if we raise the tax levy to cover the 4% increase of budget every year, if we did that this year, someone who owns a $100,000 house, that's adding $9.89 a year. Person with a $200,000 house, that raises their taxes $19.77 per year. And I realize, like, these numbers are very insignificant, are very small seemingly, but another thing that we're battling, and I'm sure you're aware of it, is the community's mindset altogether. What establishments make our community one that people enjoy? And that, I mean, that's obviously the battle that we have to face, because nobody wants their taxes raised. But if there's a way to get it across to them how small of a percent on their taxes can help out, like, you know, an establishment like the library. So that's kind of just all I have on the levy increase. One other option is obviously the franchise fee. If we increase that, I would assume that in the future, we're gonna have to increase it anyway, just to cover the cost that we're paying for the power. Just like any other power company, I'm sure that their rates are gonna go up, and we're gonna have to raise franchise fees just to help cover that as well. So if we could figure out the number to, you know, increase it just a little bit more to get more franchise fees and cover the other sectors that we have, I don't see that being a bad option either. But that's what I have. Any questions on the numbers?
So how would we pitch the idea to someone with a fixed income that we're raising the franchise fees to go towards the library? Wouldn't it be better to have the people that use the library help pay for the library rather than, you know, I'm asking someone with fixed income, we're gonna raise your electric bill to pay for the library? I mean, that would be really hard to pitch.
Right, but they are somebody who benefits from living in a community like this, that has those establishments around. I mean, yeah, it's hard for fixed income people to justify paying for things that they don't use, but that's part of living in a community that offers that. I mean, we offer it to them, they could use the establishment anytime.
So how do you address that the people in the county aren't helping pay for it then?
It's a city-funded library, so, I mean, their argument back is gonna be it's set up as a city-ran library.
Most other libraries, county members, out in county, or people that don't live in the city pay additional fees to check out books.
How would one go about that? Would they ask the person every time to check a book out if they're?
No, it's annual, most of them is annual fee.
I don't know that that's gonna cover our budget.
What about other towns with similar tax bases? What do they do for funding?
And I believe that, I don't know that a lot use the franchise fee to, fund the library fully, basically, it's fully for us, your grant. It's my assumption that it's more of a tax-based way to fund libraries, to where there is an allocated amount up to 10.5% on the sales tax that goes into a library fund.
Which in our case would be around 99,000.
Right, and not enough to cover our.
And what other cities that, do then, since we have done the research, is that they do campaigning and donations to, and not just covered by the levy, they do additional, the library itself does that, the campaigning and getting donations.
I mean, it's a good point, however, I don't think that you can count on donations like that to fund the library through an entire year. It would be very up and down. in a
No,
donation.
I'm telling you that's how other towns do it. It's not a suggestion, I'm telling you that that's how other towns do it.
Do you have any comments on the increase in the tax levy?
If the levy is increased, I think it should go for all departments, not to one specific department. So you're asking for all of the franchise fees that you're currently using and an increase in levy.
Correct.
But no campaigning or any type of outreach for donations.
Not at this year, no, I don't
Or
think so.
asking of the county patrons to help fund the library. Cause I believe almost 50% of your patrons are from county.
I mean, it's set up not in a very good way by the state. as you
Well,
know.
I know, it puts you guys in a really awkward position because the other departments, Jesse and Derek are responsible for figuring out the funding. And the only way for us to put that on Jesse and Derek is if there was no library board, and then they would have to figure it out.
Sure.
Right, and I don't like it, I don't like it at all, the way that they put this on volunteers, that's totally,
I mean, it always kind of
Hard.
seems like we're the middleman anyway. When I got on the library board, I thought like my main job on the library board would be to approve bills and claims, approve the budget. Not to figure out how to fund the library, a city-owned library. I thought that was on
Well,
the city council to do.
it's a governing board. Like when the cemetery, which is a governing board, when they need additional funds, they have to campaign and do a fundraiser. I mean, I don't like the way it's set up, I agree. It puts all of us in a,
So back to the tax levy, you don't agree with that?
Well, can you restate for me the reason you opted to not attempt the sales tax option?
Because I'm uncertain that if we pushed for a sales tax increase for the library, but that sales tax increase would go directly to the library. And not
It's
to-
written on the ballot that that is what the
Then it
funds are
has to
for,
go.
it has to go
Yeah.
to those funds,
A little
because it's a
worried.
vote.
Yeah, I was a little worried from what I've heard, how the last sales tax increase went, that money got pushed to this, because they did go in jointly, an increase for,
They,
I don't know if jointly is the right word, but was the increase for sales tax increase to help fund library and streets. So it was,
Yeah,
Is that how it was worded?
it wasn't worded that way, cause we have it, it's open to infrastructure projects, it was deemed how the councils was necessary, but that is how they had decided to split it, and that's how it's been split, though.
okay, so
The
this
entire half time is 50-50.
there is sales tax money that goes to the library.
No,
No,
to the
right.
park and rec and to the street department. It's for the pool project is what it was designated for, and for street improvements.
or it wasn't,
Infrastructure.
the
So it
library
wasn't-
wasn't on the ballot.
The library was not on the ballot.
No, it was
Okay.
park and rec and streets, and it has to go that way. I mean,
Cause that's how it's written.
yeah,
Yeah, that's what we voted on.
but like the levy, if we did the levy, because it's not designated, we can just change that, we can increase the levy and it would go where it's needed. Where a sales tax option, it's not a choice thing, because it's,
It's directed by the community.
right, it's directed by the community.
And that's the way it's written on the ballot, that's how the park and rec and the street was written on the ballot a number of years ago when it was done, and when it comes in, it's divided in half and put in those spots. It's stated that way on the ballot, exactly what you're asking it for.
So, we do invest in the library, we're at $116 per capita, the recommended rate that we just got from our auditor was $84 per capita, we're $32 above. You know, when I moved to Brush, Colorado from another community, I didn't have a Brush, Colorado address, and I had to take my kids to the library, cause I love libraries, and I had to pay more to be a member of the library. And so, it's not an unheard of thing, so I would recommend that maybe you look at that. As you heard earlier, we are looking at how do we do creative districts so we can help pay for a parking lot and sidewalks. We're getting less funds. We're already on our side over here looking for different grants and different ways to fund projects in the city. I appreciate the fact that you actually came with ideas, because I asked you to do that last time you were here. I think the way you advertised it was the way you advertised it to us, was how $100,000 is $9.89. I think you'll get buy-in that way. When you have it on the ballot, somebody puts it on the ballot, and the whole community, we're basically asking us to decide for the whole community, right, by us doing it, or we let the whole community decide. And, so we already invested above and beyond, we're already investing higher than most communities are investing in the library, so I wanna start with that point. And then if we're not being able to cover our funds, I can appreciate that, and we need to look at other ways to do that. And even the city's doing that, so we look at grants, fundraising, other options. And so, and one of the options, and it doesn't have to be option, one of the options is the ballot option. The ballot option basically is, we're either going to decide for the city, we're gonna raise the taxes without their input, or we let the constituents decide. And personally, I think it's better if that's the two options, to let the constituents decide. And I think you have advertised it very well to us, that will go very well in the community, is $9.89 for $100,000. $19.78 for $200,000. I think the way I know you did off property taxes, but I think the way you've already explained that, people will understand that and they'll resonate with that. I'm willing to pay an extra $19.78 every single year to have a library. I liked having a library when we moved here. I liked it for my kids, the reading program, everything. I don't have anything against the library. I wanna have a library here. But we have to be creative up here, and we're asking if you guys do the same thing.
One thing I do worry about a little bit is whether the tax levy gets increased for this, or a sales tax is in place in the future. I worry that funds are just gonna get transferred around from franchise fee to go back to other places, and then we're kinda in the same boat every year.
But we already talked about, we're gonna run on franchise fees on our current trajectory. We talked about that last time. So at some point, we're going to have to raise something somewhere, but if you can help fund yourself, we're having to look at ways to do that. We're just asking to say, and if you put it on the ballot that says this money goes to the library and the community votes for it, we can't change that.
Yeah, those would be actually your only protected funds at this point. I mean, the rest of it is up to the city to manage the entire budget by department. And so, to your point, you know, next year if we decided we can't move, we can't use these franchise fees for the library, they have to go elsewhere, we've had a disaster, we have to repair something, then that would happen. But if it were a sales tax, that money is not available to anything but what was voted on. So it is the safest place, and I think, you know, I came onto the council when we were really in the height of the pool situation, and it was not supported by the council at the time. They were not opting to put money towards it, and so the committee put together a ballot option, and the community said, we wanna pay for it. I think we have to know that at this point. If we increase the levy, we are telling the community, this is where your money is going. But if you put it on the ballot as a sales tax option, then the community tells us where do they want that money to go. To me, it makes the most sense. I mean, we are doing everything we can to not increase the levy at this point, for any reason, because nobody wants to pay more taxes. So if we're gonna increase it, I'd rather have somebody direct me into where they want that money to go.
The other thing about the sales taxes is it's not just the citizens of Granite. It is anybody and everybody who passes by, anybody from the county that comes through. So, but yes, the citizens of Granite are going to pay also, without a doubt. Anytime you go buy a TV out of town or a washer or dryer, you know, they nail you with the city tax. So of course, those of us in the residents will pay more because of that. That's why the residents of the city get to vote for it. But at the same time, every bypasser that comes through and spends money in the community is funding that also. So it's, you kind of get it from both sides then in that respect.
When it comes to something like that, where's the funding cause it costs extra money to get that on the ballot? Correct? Where does that come from?
We just pay for the portion of the ballot portion to have it filed and ran.
City pays for that?
How much is that, you remember?
It depends, it fluctuates each year, cause it's broke down to how much is on the ballot and whose is on the ballot. I think the county clerk distributes it all to us.
Is there like a range? Just
I can't remember off the top of my head. I mean, I think it's been, well, we budget, I mean, a set amount that and I don't remember, we maybe went over it once, but $1,200 is what we budget for each year, so. And like I said, we maybe went over it once. Most of the time it's in that range.
Unless you need to do a special election, and then it's very expensive.
Yeah, when it's on a general ballot, it's a lot cheaper.
Okay, well, it's good information, and at least discussion, so, does anybody else from the board have anything that they would like to add? No? Well, I appreciate the input, and, we'll just have to keep on thinking on it.
Well, and one thing maybe to think of, in an era of accountability, have you looked into right-sizing the library's budget? Like, for example, it's open 35.5 hours, but the approved hours of employees each week is like 95. And so, you know, there might be some ways to right-size the budget looking at that.
5 to 8 hours. You're saying?
Or maybe justification as to why the library is open 35 hours, but employees have 90 293 hours a week when the library's only there, open to the public 35 hours a week? I think, is that what you're saying?
Mhm.
So, I mean,
I mean, those are some ways also, I mean, like our public work guys have had to cut, watch their overtime to watch their budget, so that would be one thing. That's just one thing to look at, I mean, there's other ways besides just asking for more money to make your budget work.
Would you justify scheduling, planning, and maintenance of the library as justified hours?
Jesse and Derek do all that with public, the doors open.
I mean, we're open 7 to 4 every day, and unless we're both busy and we go to lunch at the same time, there's always someone in the office between the two of us.
if there's no lunch hour shut down unless there's only one in the office at the time because the other one's on
Meetings or something.
or vacation or whatever.
And they open the doors when it's open. They don't get there 2 hours early or 2.5 hours early to do administrative work. They open, do their work, and serve the public. So, I mean, that's just one way of right-sizing the budget.
Does that $1,200 come out of the library's budget at all, the one on the ballot, does it come out of their budget at all?
Comes out of general funds.
Come out of the general fund.
And as far as campaigning for it, am I assuming right that the library board cannot participate in the campaign?
Your foundation, like the library foundation, needs to be probably responsible for that.
For the Friends of the Library.
Yeah.
And neither can the employees.
Or any volunteer group that wanted to
Right.
get together,
Any
so if
volunteer
you have,
group.
if you have people that just wanna support the library and wanna have this thing pass, I mean, that's kind of what happened with the pool committee as well. I mean, they got together and started going to work and campaigning for the tax increase, so. I see these two things as very, very similar. It's like we chose to spend money on a pool because the community said they wanted it. We choose to spend money on a library above and beyond because we think it's good for the community, but we're also reaching a cap. So we gotta figure out, is this something the community wants to continue to invest in? Are we at a place of sustaining, or are we at a place of growing? What does the community wanna do?
What are we allowed to do as council members about campaigning? Nothing?
No. I mean, we're limited by state statute, I believe.
But we are voters.
I know that.
We can vote.
But we can vote.
We can vote.
Alright, well, that's all I have for tonight.
Okay.
All right,
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
thank you.
Thanks.
Alright, thank you very much, board members, for coming. On to the last item of the evening, bills and claims.
I'll move to set action on bills and claims in the amount of $70,871.27.
Second, Terry moved, and we have second that we accept action on bills and claims in the amount of $70,871.27. Any discussion? Terry, how do you vote?
Yes.
Sam?
Yes.
Andrew? Kimberly?
Yes.
Motion carried.
And did everyone review?
Oh, yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I forgot. Did everyone review?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you for keeping us on the straight and narrow.
Appreciate it.
Has it turned out this year?
I'm here.
Your verbal yes.
Yeah, we're adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Good meeting, good questions. Hmm? 8:05, yes. Oh, man, I'm slacking tonight, 8:05.
Everything done.
Yeah, we need to like figure out how we're gonna do this creative district.
Yeah,
I
sounds
think-
really
I think we can bring in a